African teas for your enjoyment.
The scent of jasmine and expense hung heavy in Kemi's Ikoyi apartment. She was an architect, precise and ambitious, but her heart felt like one of her own blueprints, flawlessly structured but utterly cold. Her fiancé, Dayo, was the epitome of success, a man of vast wealth, sharp suits, and an easy public charm. Their wedding in 2 weeks was the talk of Lagos high society. It promised permanence and prestige, everything Kemi told herself she needed. But whenever the light caught the diamond on her finger, she saw not forever, but a cleverly designed escape route. Tonight, Kemi was sketching, lost in curved lines and shadows, when her phone buzzed with a message from Lakan, her best friend and the one person who truly saw the jagged edges beneath her polished exterior. Lakan was a perpetually exhausted medical resident, working 3 shifts too many, but his texts were always a lighthouse in her storm. Are you sure, Kemi? The foundation matters more than the finish. She sighed, tracing the outline of the sketch, an ambitious high-rise tower that only she and Lagan knew the true purpose of. She was marrying Dio for the key he possessed, a key that unlocked not her heart, but her family's broken past. The real love she sought was not romantic, but relentless. Kemi and Lekan's history was woven not with sweet dates, but with shared loss. They had grown up next door to each other in Surulere, their bond forged in the aftermath of a catastrophic event 10 years prior. The sudden, ruinous collapse of Kemi's family contracting business, which led to her father losing everything, including his health. Lekan, though just a boy then, was the only one who stayed, helping Kemi's mother nurse her father back to a fragile recovery. They shared a secret. The collapse wasn't an accident. It was the result of a deliberate, ruthless corporate maneuver by the Olowo Group. Now, Lekan was her constant shadow, her silent confidant. While their friends assumed their bond was one of agonizing, unrequited love, the truth was heavier. Their connection was a decade-long pact for justice. They never crossed the line into romance, fearing it would contaminate the clarity of their mission. Lekan was the strategist, the analyst, the moral compass. Kemi was the weapon, the one positioned to streak. The love that never fails wasn't a fairy tale to them. It was the absolute, unyielding devotion to righting an old wrong. And that devotion, Kemi knew, was far more powerful than the shallow affection Deo offered. Deo proposed under the dazzling lights of his private rooftop garden, the Lagos skyline shimmering beneath them. The proposal itself was less a question and more a highly choreographed, public assertion of claim. Kemi played her part flawlessly, tears welling up in her eyes, not from joy, but from the immense weight of the transaction. Yes, she had said, not to a life partner, but to access. Deo was heir to the Olowu Group. His father, Chief Olowu, was the man responsible for crushing Kemi's family business a decade ago, seizing their land and their patents in the process. Kemi didn't want Deo's love or his name. She wanted his father's signature on the original deed of transfer. It was the only thing that could restore her family's legacy. Deo, shielded by his privilege, was oblivious to his father's historical cruelty and to Kemi's true motive. Her love for Deo was a lie, but her commitment to her goal, the love for her family's honor, was the truest thing about her. She mentally calculated the days remaining. 14 days until the wedding. 14 days until she held all the leverage. Dio had been easygoing about Kemi's demanding work schedule, but the persistent closeness between Kemi and Lakin started to fray his composure. He found them together one evening, Lakin carefully reviewing architectural plans with Kemi, their heads bent close over the drafting table. The air between them was electric, charged not with lust, but with shared, intense purpose. Dio's jealousy flared, not because of romance, but because of the palpable sense of a shared world he couldn't penetrate. You spend more time with him than you do planning our future, Dio remarked, his tone clipped. He's just an exhausted medic, Kemi. What could he possibly know about your new business ventures? Kemi laughed, a cold, sharp sound. Lekin knows about foundations, Dio, something your world seems to overlook. She skillfully pivoted the conversation, shifting Dio's suspicion to a minor hiccup in his company's stock portfolio. Dio, instantly distracted by finance, apologized for his jealousy. Kemi watched him walk away, knowing she had successfully deflected his gaze from the real secret, the quiet, unwavering love, the unconditional loyalty that Lekin offered, which Dio could never replace. 3 nights before the wedding, Kemi snuck out of the opulent Olowu mansion, trading her silk pajamas for a dark linen dress. She met Lekan not at a lavish restaurant, but in the dimly lit, sterile archives of Lekan's hospital, where he was ostensibly on call. Lekan didn't embrace her. Instead, he immediately presented her with a brittle, yellowed legal document. This was the document they had spent a decade trying to acquire. The deed of transfer that signed away her family's prime industrial land to the Olowu Group. "It's clean," Lekan whispered, his eyes shadowed with fatigue and urgency. "I used Deo's father's junior counsel as an unwitting mole. Deo's proposal was the perfect distraction. You have the leverage, Kemi. The key to the final execution is securing Chief Olowu's signature on the reversion clause. Once he signs this, claiming it's an insurance policy for Deo, your family gets their lands back." Kemi ran her fingers over the document, a decade of pain, planning, and sacrifice condensed into the frail paper. This was their love story, etched in legal ink, secured by an unbroken promise. The pressure mounted, and Lekan finally cracked. They were alone in the reception venue, overseeing a final walkthrough. Lekan was adjusting a floral arrangement, his hands trembling slightly. He looked at Kemi, radiant in a rehearsal dress, and the decade of suppressed feeling erupted. "Stop the charade, Kemi," he pleaded, his voice low and raw. "You don't have to marry him. I know you don't love him. I have loved you since we were children, since I first saw you crying outside your father's ruined office. I'm not rich, I'm just a resident, but I will give you more than Dio ever could." Kemi looked at him, her expression softening, yet remaining resolutely firm. "Lekan, you don't understand. I am not marrying him for security. I am marrying him for justice. And I am not seeking the love you offer, because that love can fail. Romantic love fades, trust is broken, but the love that never fails is the one that is absolute, unyielding, and devoted to a higher purpose. That purpose is restoring my father's honor. Your loyalty to that mission? Lekan, your unwavering support in this lie. That is the love that never fails. Don't ask me to trade this victory for mere romance." Kemi needed to solidify the final piece of her plot. She sat across from Deo in his father's vast mahogany office, discussing prenuptial agreements. Deo, preoccupied with his own affairs, barely listened. Kemi gently steered the conversation to her parents' past loss. She told Deo a fabricated, softened version of how her family had lost their land, omitting Chief Olowu's direct involvement, but highlighting the legal loopholes. "I worry about your father, Deo," Kemi said, feigning innocence. "He has so many holdings. Are you sure everything is perfectly secure? What if some old, forgotten land claim resurfaces? It would ruin the Olowu name." Deo, predictably, became instantly paranoid about his family's reputation. Kemi seized the opportunity. "I have a brilliant, simple reversion clause drafted by my lawyer, a mere safeguard that protects both of us. It ensures that if any past asset claim is settled, it reverts immediately to the original owner. It's a cleanup measure. Get your father to sign it before the wedding, or I won't feel secure marrying you. Deo, desperate to preserve his perfect union, agreed immediately, eager to prove his control. The wedding morning arrived, heavy with the perfume of lilies and adrenaline. Kemi was flawless, but her focus was laser sharp, fixed entirely on the clap. The ceremony was set for 12 p.m. At 11:30 a.m., she called Chief Olowu into the bridal suite, accompanied only by Lekin, who was posing as her personal attorney for estate matters. Chief Olowu, pompous and impatient, bristled at the interruption. Kemi placed the two documents on the vanity, the original deed of transfer and her newly drafted reversion clause. Chief Olowu, Kemi said, her voice dropping all pretense of sweetness. I know exactly what you did to my father 10 years ago. I know you seized his land. I am marrying your son in 30 minutes. Before I do, you will sign this reversion clause, claiming it is an indemnity agreement to protect Dayo from historical corporate liabilities. Chief Olowu initially laughed, then saw the cold fire in her eyes and Lekin's unwavering stare. He hesitated, but Kemi added the devastating finality. Sign it, and the scandal remains buried. Refuse, and I will announce the full truth about the Olowo Group's history at the altar. Chief Olowu, faced with immediate career-ending scandal, signed the reversion clause with a trembling hand, furious but silenced. The ink dried just as the wedding bells began to chime. Kemi tucked the signed document into her bouquet, her goal achieved. She had not married Deo, but she had secured her family's future, relying entirely on the precision of her deception and the unwavering partnership of Lekan. As she walked down the aisle, Deo, who had been briefed on the indemnity insurance minutes earlier, looked relieved. But halfway through the vows, Kemi stopped the ceremony. Deo, she announced, her voice ringing clear through the hall. I cannot marry you. I have already signed the only contract that matters today. She pulled out the document, showing the family seal. I used this wedding as leverage to force your father to return the land he stole from mine. My deepest commitment is not to you, but to justice and my father's memory. Deo's face crumbled, but then a strange flicker of understanding and pride crossed his features. He realized he hadn't just been used, he had been a witness to extraordinary ambition. The scandal was immediate, spectacular, and short-lived, overshadowed quickly by the sensational news that the Olowu Group had returned a massive industrial land parcel to the formerly disgraced Okoro family. Dayo, instead of retaliating, admired Kemi's audacity and secured a profitable architectural contract with her revitalized company, an unexpected and practical alliance. Kemi had found the love that never fails, the unconditional, unwavering loyalty to her family's legacy. A month later, Kemi stood in the now-restored family office in Surulere, watching Lekan enter. He wasn't wearing scrubs. He was wearing a simple, neat buba and sokoto. He held no legal documents, only a small box. You got your justice, Lekan said simply. You achieved the love you believed in. Kemi smiled, finally, genuinely. But that love was built on a partnership, Lekan. Your loyalty was absolute, your commitment unbreakable. You never failed me. She walked to him, and this time the kiss was not forced, but a natural culmination of a decade of shared purpose. Lekan opened the box. Inside was a simple silver ring, engraved with the phoenix symbol. I love you, he whispered. The fight is over. Now we build. Kemi took the ring, knowing the true, enduring love story had just begun.
I kindly plead with our first-time viewers to kindly subscribe to our channel. And to our dearest subscribers, thank you for joining us again. Please help to like, drop a comment, and click on the notification bell to always get our new videos. Thank you.